Good evening, America, and thank you for tuning in to CNN's The Recap. I'm your host, Cody Clark, and tonight I'm going to take you through the biggest recent news stories in America. We'll start with the House of Representatives. This week, the House of Representatives began their opening business with Dean of the House Pierce Bride swearing in all the returning and newly elected members of Congress. Representative Commander Johnson was late to the party, being the last representative to swear in, but this allowed the House to begin the task of choosing a speaker. It only took 60 seconds for the representative from Dixie's 1st District, Cabin Fever, to nominate the incumbent speaker, Representative Valerie. Former governor and current Representative Code Green was nominated as the Labor candidate for speaker. Shockingly, former President LOTR was also nominated for speaker by a freshman representative from the North, XRT. It is unclear at this time why Representative XRT made this nomination, but we have seen in the past that representatives may make nominations to try and create conflict within an opposing caucus. Luckily for the Federalist Populist Caucus, LOTR declined the nomination. Soon after, the representatives voted, and Representative Valerie was re-elected to the Speaker's chair with 13 votes, while Code Green received 4. Immediately after taking the gavel, Speaker Valerie appointed former Speaker Thanos May to be the Speaker pro tempore, and issued the standing order that the Speaker pro tempore will preside on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. With the Federalist Populist Caucus having a solid majority, their floor leader, Representative and Governor Cabin Fever, was named the House Majority Leader. The Labor Caucus was not as cut and dry. Representative Maya, from the North's 4th District, decided not to caucus with her fellow Laborites, despite receiving campaign contributions from the Labor Party and running on a Labor Party ticket. Furthermore, rather than choosing their speaker candidate, Code Green, as floor leader, they chose Representative Darby, who was grilled during the last election for allegedly slowing down Congress. The congressional leadership is now working on drafting their committee membership rosters, so they can get down to business. Moving over to the other chamber, Vice President Barch began by swearing in all the newly elected and re-elected senators. Less than a minute after nominations opened, Northern Senator Matthew Hale nominated himself for President pro tempore. The Federalist Senate caucus did not nominate anyone, and after a roll call vote, Senator Hale was elected to be President pro tempore, and Vice President Barch subsequently handed off the gavel. The 3 Laborite senators were joined in their new caucus by Independent Senator Zarfos, and the Labor floor leader, Senator Bruce Hill, was subsequently recognized as the Senate Majority Leader. Senate leadership quickly hammered out their committee rosters and have already gotten down to legislating. So far, 3 proposals are being considered in the Senate. The first is a constitutional amendment that would give every citizen over the age of 18 the unabridged right to vote, though some question whether the language of the resolution is specific enough. The second would recognize June 19th as Emancipation Day, in celebration of the abolition of slavery in the United States. The third would help fight forest fires by giving our emergency professionals better training and resources. Unfortunately for supporters of this bill, Senators Rawl and Garland have stated it may be unconstitutional for the bill to originate in the Senate and plan to kill it. We'll now move on in our recap to the state governments. Starting with the North. The North this week was slammed by a major snowstorm, with AP reporting that some areas got as much as 6 feet of snow. Mass transit systems are still not fully operational, as residents and city officials continue digging themselves out of the snow. The House of Delegates has been quiet for nearly 2 weeks. Their last action was getting ready for the winter storm. The House passed a bill appropriating billions of dollars for disaster readiness and relief, as well as giving directions to the Northern Department of Justice and other agencies. After that, the House of Delegates agreed to a sweeping reform of the executive branch, just in time for it to appear on the ballot of the most recent election. One of the major changes was to the vote of no confidence, the system that had been recently used to remove Governor Computer Guy from office. The old system only required that the legislature lose confidence in the governor for him to be removed from office. But now, under the new system, the governor must be impeached and convicted of a crime before they can be removed from office. Another notable change is the shift from an appointed Attorney General to an elected Attorney General. These sweeping changes have since taken effect, having been approved by the voters in the last election. While the House of Delegates has been slow the past couple of weeks, sources inside the chairman's office say several big legislative packages are being prepared and will be revealed before the end of the session. The midterm election may have just ended, but politicians in Chicago are already gearing up for the next one. Senator and Delegate Lyndon Garland has announced his candidacy for governor of the northern state, saying in a press release, "The North deserves a governor who puts their health and humanity first, one who works to improve the quality of life for every citizen and brings the state together." Moving down south to Dixie, Puerto Rico is still struggling with constant earthquakes, with AP reporting hundreds of tremors over the past couple of weeks. There has been significant damage and at least one casualty. The Dixie General Assembly has been chugging along this week. They started by approving $2 billion in disaster relief aid for Puerto Rico, and an additional $500 million if that's not enough. Also this week, the governor signed the Dixie Lottery Act into law, which created an official state lottery. The lottery is expected to generate $21 billion of revenue, which will be used to fund lottery prizes, disaster relief, and state debt. Continuing the trend of gambling proposals, Assemblyman Lowengram submitted a bill that would legalize most types of gambling, as well as legalize casinos. The proposal would prohibit anyone under the age of 18 from gambling without parental consent. Opponents of the bill have raised concerns about whether this would negatively impact Native American tribes running casinos in Dixie, with Assemblyman J.G.T. Webb proposing a discussion with the U.S. Secretary of the Interior. The sponsor, Assemblyman Lowengram, responded by saying, "I frankly do not feel as if it is a big enough deal. This state is suffering from a debt and a lack of money, and we need that source." Other critics have said this bill would have the state profit off of addiction, with the cost of the casino tax pushed onto low-income individuals suffering from gambling addiction. Swinging west and going into Jefferson, this week U.S. Senator Rincewind won a special election to the Jefferson Parliament, commanding a lead of 17% over relative newcomer, Laborite Representative Benny Neutron. Much like the House of Delegates in the North, the Jefferson Parliament has been fairly quiet in recent weeks. However, the Parliament broke the silence by joining the North and Dixie in ratifying the War Powers Accountability Amendment. And before that, the last bill they voted on was the Safe and Legal Sex Work Act, which was introduced on behalf of the Valerie administration. This bill legalized the solicitation and practicing of prostitution throughout the Commonwealth, so long as the practitioner is licensed and does not carry any sexually transmitted diseases. After signing this bill into law, Governor Valerie pardoned all nonviolent offenders that had been convicted of soliciting or performing prostitution. Governor and Speaker Valerie has also recently announced her intention to consider seeking the Federalist nomination for president, saying, "We need a chief executive to serve the nation, not plot to grow their own power or treat the presidency as a prize." I'd like to thank everyone for joining me today in recapping the biggest news stories of the week, and I will see you next time. This has been Cody Clark for CNN.